Hey beauty, Dana here at Oily Hair Boss. I truly believe that health is the small things that you do every single day that can add up to big results. Today, tune in as I interview Anthony at Man on the Move. I'm super excited about this interview. You're not going to want to miss it. Yes, men oil too. Feel free to subscribe, like, comment, and share this content if we find value. All right, guys, let's get into
Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being on for another episode of What's Your YL Story. So I am super excited. As you guys know, my name is Dana at Oily Hair Boss, and this is a series that is near and dear to my heart. I believe more awareness needs to be brought around the field of health and wellness, especially within our communities. What I have found that many have been blinded by traditions, they have been blinded by society, or just simply the way they were born. And I'm on a mission to find different change makers in the industry that are doing some amazing things or have done some amazing things, so that you can look back and find someone that maybe you can be like, hey, I want to make some health changes, and that person is just like me. So whether you want to make big or small changes, I am here to help guide you through that process. Please, if you have not already, like, subscribe, and comment on anything that you want to chat more about or learn more about. So without further ado, I'm super, super excited today because I have my wonderful husband here. And he's going to kind of just speak from his perspective because I do think it's super important that we have different backgrounds and different thoughts when it comes to this whole thing about health and wellness and really this whole journey and why Young Living is such a powerful tool and a powerful company. So first and foremost, babe, would you mind just going ahead and introducing yourself to everyone that's watching for those that might not know who you are?
Okay. Yeah, first and foremost, thank you for having me. I feel so special and honored and privileged to be on here. But for those that do not know me probably as well as Dana, I am her husband, Anthony Mott. If you've ever been around us in any like in-person event, you probably see me doing a lot of work behind the scenes. It's not that I don't want to be in front of the camera or anything like that, but some of my skills and expertise has to do a lot with like logistical things. So yeah, like what do you want me to tell them about myself?
Well, don't you have a YouTube channel? What, like
Yeah,
all the
so
things you do
I
where people can connect with you?
so interestingly enough, I am like a jack of all trades. So Young Living is a small part of is one part of my life, but my passion is more so anything in the creative space. So I consider myself a musician to some extent. I also do run a small tech YouTube channel, which you can find me over on YouTube at Anthony Mott over on YouTube. And you can follow me on Instagram as well and Twitter with my handle here that you see at Man on the Move 727. But yeah, I'm kind of like one of those people. Like I love to try new things all the time. So you'll probably find me also like always having my toe dipped into something.
Very, very nice, very nice. So, how were you introduced to Young Living?
So that's I mean, I'm not sure if everybody knows this story, but our story is kind of funny because um long story short, and then I'll give you the background information, but um you brought oils into the house. And unbeknownst to me, I didn't even know what they were or like that you had even started using oils. And I think it's funny looking back now, because I'll hear you tell your side of the story sometimes, and you're like, "Yeah, I've been using oils for years." And even when we first got married, I'm like, "I had no idea we were using oils in the house." So, by the time Young Living came around, our son had just been born, so you started using them, and you would put them in the diffuser, And I remember distinctly there was one particular oil, and every time I tell this story, I think people kind of cringe a little bit when I put it like this, but I said something smells like booty butt cheeks. It was not gelling with me whatsoever, and I actually think that now that I remember, I think it was Joy. Um, but it's funny because you would put it in the diffuser, and I'm just like, for the longest time, I could not figure out what that smell was, right? So uh, I think it was not too long after that that like your sister Tashina started coming around, and she was like, "Yeah, she was trying to tell me about the oils and things of that nature." Mind you, I'm coming from a completely like other side of the spectrum. I'm working in the medical field at the time. I was working as an LPN. So like in my mind, everything was like traditional medicine, like Western philosophy of medicine. That was just like the way to go. And then anything outside of that, whether oils were being utilized for like the smell or like calming and things like that, or like to help with emotions, like I was not trying to hear any of that. So I think it's actually pretty interesting because like you guys did not quit or give up on me. In our first, I think it was our first year, we went to Young Living's convention where I met Scott Schuler. And Tashina's like, you got to meet this guy. He's like the manliest of men. And I think at that time I kind of was like complaining. I'm like, they don't have anything that's like for men. Like it's all girly. Everything smells like flowers and stuff like that. And and so Tashina introduced me to Scott, and I just got to asking him some questions. I'm like, so like tell me like how does this work? And he was like, they work. I'm like, yeah, but like
Mm-hmm.
what's like the science behind it? Like how does it work? He was like, does it work? Like if you put it on, does it work? I'm like, yeah, but like how does it work? He's like, doesn't matter. Um, and so I think that was like my first like kind of aha moment, I guess. Because from that perspective, it was like, oh, okay, it's cool to see like here's like a guy that looks like the brawny man. Like he uses oils, like, and it looked like his testosterone was a lot higher than mine. So I'm like, if he could do it, like that works for me too. And I think that's like really when I dove into it was like our first like Young Living convention. Even some of the classes that they taught at the time behind like the science of oils and things of that nature. You and I were both researchers by default, and that just really intrigued me. So once I got that knowledge, I kind of like it stuck with me, and it's been a part of who I am for what the past 8 years now. So so yeah, that was my introduction to Young Living. Rocky at first, but like I'm here for the long haul.
Love it, love it, love it, love it. And it's interesting that you said, and we'll touch a little bit on it later, but as you mentioned, Young Living Convention, it was the science, it was the education around like products and ingredients that really drew you in. So this is just kind of an auxiliary question in line with that because we're going to get deeper into some of these questions. So in the beginning, from your perspective, even going to convention, was it on your radar at any point to like do the business of Young Living?
I would say no when we first got started. Like mainly because like we had done like a network marketing company before. We had some mild success there. And I think around the time that Young Living came into our lives, like I just was kind of like burnt out and like done with a lot of that stuff, right? So I remember even you and I, we had a conversation about it, and I'm like, we're not doing network marketing again. We're not doing this again. And you're like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm not doing a business. Like I'm just getting these oils for our son. And I'm like, no, but I can clearly see. I'm like, I know how this works. This I know like you're getting into a business, you just don't know it. So I think like around that time, and I was burnt out.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I think it worked out well for the way that we started because it allowed me to fall in love with the products first. And Young Living, if anybody that's watching knows anything about like the culture of Young Living, it's never been like pushy, like you have to do the business. Like it's never been even like everybody else that I met that first year we went to convention, they were just asking me like, what's your favorite oil? Like there was so much talk about like products and things like that, and not nearly as much talk about doing a business. So I think when it was like, because it was like that, for me it was a lot more natural and organic to kind of slide into that. Um, where it's like you're wearing oils, like you have a very distinct smell, regardless of what oil you have on. People naturally ask you about it. And I kind of feel like I'm going off on a tangent here. I forgot the beginning part of the question. I'm hoping I'm answering it.
No,
Um,
excellent, excellent. Yeah.
but you were asking about challenges, correct?
No, I hadn't got to that question. That was
Okay.
my next
Okay.
one, though.
Yeah.
Yep. So, what are some of the obstacles you faced in your young living journey?
Um, I can speak, and granted, I know everybody's journey is different. For me, I think the hardest part or the biggest obstacle was like feeling like an outcast. Because like when we joined Young Living, like nobody looked like me. Um, in a sea full of women, I was like the one guy. So like even when I first started, like it was hard for me to talk about it because I'm like, this is it's a girly thing, like it's a woman's thing, right? So like even like our clientele, I would primarily target and talk to women. Um, and so it took me a long time to like get adjusted to that, to be comfortable like being in the atmosphere. And don't get me wrong, like everybody was like, they never made me feel like an outcast, but it's just like one of those things that you kind of put on yourself because you're like, I don't see anybody that looks like me. Um, so I would say like feeling comfortable enough using product and using oils, uh, and even talking to people about oils. Um, and then I will also add to that, like, consistency, because I think this is why, like, even in the past, we've talked about if you have a significant other, why it was so important that the 2 work together, because they're able to slide in and pick up, like, the slack where, like, one person may fall off. So, like, I know, like, consistency is not my strength where it's like, "Dana, you're like clockwork." Um if there's a system to follow, like you're gonna be like, okay, did you do step one? Did you do steps? I'm more like, I like step five. So I'm gonna jump to step five. And you're like, nope, we got to do 1 through 4 first. So learning to be consistent, I would say would be one of the obstacles and struggles that I faced as well. Um, but even though those struggles are there, um, I will say that it's still an enjoyable experience. It's largely been an enjoyable experience. Um, it's caused me to grow a lot as a person, and it's affected and reached other parts of my life, not just in our business, but just in general. Like helped me to grow as a husband, as a father, even in public speaking. Um, yeah, all of that. So I think it was well worth it. I'll put it that way. Yeah, it was well worth it.
So we're going to take a quick break. I want you to really know maybe you are at a space when you're like, I know I need to make some health changes. I know I need to make some transformations, but it just seems too hard. I get it. I was there and I totally understand. I have a bundle for you and it's the Get Motivated bundle. You will find it in the show notes. This bundle is all about setting intentions and your mindset. It is a set of oils that are really, really going to help you hone in on how to start with your motivation. As soon as you purchase it, I will send you a download, a free guide that's going to walk you through step by step exactly how to use that bundle and how you can stay just a little bit more motivated when you are trying to make these small little health changes step by step by step. I truly believe that essential oils are the most powerful way to reset and correct when it comes to mindset, when it comes to challenges with our emotions and attitude. So check that out. You will absolutely enjoy it. And I can't wait to be your guide. Be sure to let me know which bundle you choose. I will also have a few other bundles that just for the changing season, you might actually also enjoy. But with that, back to the show.
So now, what things would you change or would you want others to be aware of?
What things would I change? Um, I've said this before. I would change, like, I would start with branding, something that's probably a little bit more gender neutral. And I think Young Living has gotten a lot better. I will say they've gotten a lot better for like trying to tailor to like more than just the female demographic. Um, but I also would just like, if I could like prep somebody, I would just say like, don't think that you know more than like the people that came before you. Because I'll say like, like when I first got started, we constantly try to like reinvent the wheel, and it's like, hey, but what if we do it this way? Or I don't like doing it that way. I'm gonna do it this way. And like you're jumping like all over the place. And it's like really if you just like keep it simple and narrow in and focus on like one particular way of doing things and follow the systems. Young Living has so many systems now that they didn't used to have, like when you and I first started. I think you're going to be a lot more successful, but you're also going to like benefit your family a lot more as well, because even the tools and resources about the products that are available now, there's a lot more than we had when we first got started too. So I think that's the biggest thing I would say people kind of like should pay attention to. And in all honesty, that branding thing is the only like real thing for me, you know.
Now, even from the perspective of being a Black man, right? So one of the things that like I really, really, really want to speak to with our audience is on both sides of the coin. I feel like there's a lot of times that we might say, well, they should just know that we're not represented in branding. We're not being showed in their marketing, and they should be inclusive, all of those things. And while I agree partially to that, I also feel like on the flip side, we should be speaking up when we don't see certain things and say, hey, like, this is what would make us feel more comfortable, right? So you spoke a little bit about, okay, being the only man. Now, I do know that there was a nice little flow at some point where they had like men in oils and different groups. And even I know that we went to big conferences where, there was a lot of the Pretty Little White Girls' husbands that were speaking. And sometimes you would speak on just how like all of their husbands seem to have the same similar story.
Yeah.
From that perspective, as a Black male, are there any things that, like, if let's say we go viral with this, show, and Young Living gets a hold of it and actually hears some of these things and hears our heart and where we're coming from, is there certain things that you would want to see more of or see a little bit of change from the perspective of how can we attract more Black men? I know, again, even you and a few of the oily Black men did a series and stuff like that.
Yeah. So it's very it's an interesting conversation. Um, because I remember even like when we would hold certain things like that, where it was like a support system for particularly like Black men, um, you would get like people that weren't Black men that still wanted to be part of it, and it's like, um, it's not like meant to be exclusionary, but at the same time, like the whole purpose of it was we have struggles that are different than like any other group, right? So, like you spoke about like the Pretty Little White Girl and like how sometimes even when we would host like these like Black male summits, because it's not that we're different in the sense of being humans, but like I think I've told you, as a Black man, especially in this industry, we're a marginalized group of a marginalized group of a marginalized group of a marginalized group. So the biggest thing was like we just wanted to have like a circle where people understood where we were coming from. And it's a lot of times it's hard to have that level of understanding because you don't live it, you know. So like if there were anything like that, I mean, I found what was like really helpful is like to have those opportunities where we were able to speak to um like corporate, where we could vocalize like, hey, this is what we're experiencing. Now we might, granted, we might be like a small percentage, but we're still a percentage nonetheless of your user base, your business owners, and these are the challenges that we are having that's very specific to us in our community. um and instead of like trying to fix it, like, because sometimes like we would like vocalize like those concerns, and you just get a solution. We need this support, encouragement, and empathy, because it's like nobody's experience is the same. And obviously the majority is always going to feel like they have that support, whereas like being a black man in this industry, we had to go out and create that for ourselves. So that's a little bit of a challenge. And if I could speak to your point, if I could say to corporate, like, hey, what could we do different? Like, reach out and create those opportunities for us to vocalize some of the challenges that we're having, and really just be able to listen with empathy, um, so that we can, kind of get that off of our chest. We hold that a lot, so sometimes it's like we just need to vocalize it so we can move on, you know.
Nice, nice. So, what advice would you give to those just starting in their journey? So, those that are just like, hey, I've been interested in maybe using oils, or even maybe somebody that's like, hey, I could use another stream of income. They're in the beginning stages. What advice would you give them?
um Find your niche. And I know that sounds very general, but like, I use oils, but that's not my niche. Young Living has over 500 products now, and it continues to grow. My niche is supplements. Um, and the only way that I found that was by using and trying all of the different products that we could get our hands on. So I think, like, especially for a person that's just coming along, there's sometimes a lot of pressure because people feel like, oh, I got to make money like right out of the jump. I gotta, or I need to see like X, Y, and Z results like right away. And in reality, like, nothing happens like that. Like, we live in a society that kind of like implies that everything happens overnight, and if you just like pull yourself up by your bootstraps, or buckle down, like things will just happen like that. Um, don't have that expectation. Like, give yourself time, find something that like you really gel and mesh with, and something that makes you passionate. Because if you're not passionate about it, like, people pick up on that. They can tell. And people know when you're just trying to sell them on some stuff that you don't really use, right? So I typically tell anybody that's getting started, like, just get product, find something you like. Once you find something you like, use it, and 9 times out of 10, people will ask you about it as you're using it. Like, my go-to for the longest was Digize, because I kept it all the time. Like, and I still to this day I keep it on me all the time. And whenever I put a drop in, somebody still always asks me, or they'll make a comment and say like, "What smells like licorice?" Oh, that's my oil. Like, oh, what's that? And then I tell them about it. So, some are interested, sometimes they're not. That's fine either way, but nobody can say that they don't know that Anthony uses this oil for digest, like, for to help his digestive system. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, like, get out of your own way and just kind of get comfortable with finding your niche.
And you kind of mentioned it before, but again, just for emphasis, where can people follow you, your journey, connect with you? And maybe even if people like wanted to reach out and had some like maybe specific questions that they're not as comfortable with, maybe staying on here, particular to Young Living or whatnot, how can people connect with you and reach out to you?
So you can find me most of the time on, depending on when you're watching this, on Twitter, or it might be X by tomorrow. Whenever you're watching it, it's this. I'm the same handle on Twitter at Man on the Move 727. You can also find me on Threads, as well, at Man on the Move 727, or Instagram as well. Man on the Move 727. Feel free. I believe on Instagram my DMs are open. That sounds really weird to say it like that, but If you ever have a question, like those are the social media apps that I'm typically like semi tuned into and will check periodically. And most likely, if you have a question, that's where you can catch me to respond.
Awesome. So, have you ever attended a Young Living convention? You kind of answered this already too, but if so, share a little bit more, and if you can elaborate on your experience.
Okay. So, like, maybe I can talk about what my favorite convention was. And I'll say it probably was the second year that we went.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop you real quick because it's interesting you said that your favorite convention. So the question really was, have you been to convention? So you've been to a convention multiple times. How many times have you been to convention in the
So
8 years?
so we've been there 7 out of the 8 years.
Okay.
Yeah, 7 years. And the reason I say, like, the second one is probably more memorable to me, um, is because the first year that we went, I didn't really know what to expect. And I was very, uh, probably a lot more apprehensive to try, like, even go to, like, classes and things of that nature, but, like, by the second year, I was like, "Oh, okay, I know how this kinda goes," and I was able to, like, more specifically target the things that I was interested in, so that second year, like, I fully immersed myself in, like, all the classes about oils, like, all the trainings that they were doing on the business side. I think I went to, like, almost every class. We had, like, extremely full schedules, but, we had our whole team that was there. I think that was the year we even did the 5K. Um, so it was a very enjoyable experience, like, overall. You really got a sense of community, that time that we went, and so, yeah, I would say that's probably my favorite. I would highly recommend that, like, if you've never been, like, go. If the only thing that's stopping you is, like, getting there, like, just find a way to get there, because like, once you're there, it's very refreshing, like, to be around people that share some of the same interests as you. And it's not like we sit around like a campfire talking oils all night. There's a lot of variety, but you'll meet a lot of different kinds of people that come from different walks of life, and you have this common interest or this common thread that pulls you all together. So that was really, really enjoyable for me.
I love that. I really like to kind of end on that note because we are already gearing up for 2024. This is going to be Young Living's 30-year anniversary. They are opening it back to international. So one of the things that Anthony had mentioned is that second convention. Before COVID, we had international conventions. They unfortunately shut that down. Even our last convention was just strictly like the America, I believe, North American regions. I don't remember if Canada was there or not. But either way, they really, really reduced a lot of the things and a lot of the experiences. Please believe for the 30-year, they're bringing it home, y'all. So you're not going to want to miss this convention. We are already gearing up. So especially if you guys are in our community, our Oil City Squad community, get your ticket at ASAP. We will be there. We are excited about it. We want to make it like a retreat, y'all. Like, we want to get a nice big house. We want everybody to have the experience, visit the farms, and really, really get to dig in. The last thing, and I said this before, I really want to emphasize, this is not a convention just because you're doing the business or not doing the business. There's a little bit of something for everybody. So even if all you ever do is just use the oils for yourself, you will not be disappointed by going to convention and really soaking up, again, the association as well as the information. I am an introvert. I suffer sometimes from social anxiety, and it still was a pleasant experience for me. So I highly, highly recommend it. With that, is there anything else that you wanted to chat about or leave the people with before we release next one?
I think you summed it up pretty well. I would add to it, it's almost the end of July. And I think the hardest or the biggest obstacle that people have in getting to convention is they don't plan for it. So you have like a year now. Start planning now. I mean, even if you're like Dana said, if you're not doing the business, that's fine too. We have a great time just being around other like-minded people. Salt Lake City, if you've never been, is gorgeous. There's a lot to do. It's changed a lot even over the past 7 years that we've been going out there, and it's always something that I look forward to. So to Dana's point, like think about getting your ticket now. Think about setting aside a little money now, to just come be out there. What's the saying go? It was like those that fail to plan, plan to
Mm.
fail. So I mean, in all honesty, if you put it on your calendar and say, "Hey, I'm going to convention next year," and just do those baby steps to work at putting some money aside and getting there, we would love to have you guys. Love to have as many people as possible.
All right, guys. Well, you heard it first here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, if this content brought you some value and there was some gems that you want to go back and replay, be sure to make sure you share this out, and comment. Give us some feedback on it and be sure to subscribe. We appreciate each and every one of you guys, and we will see you next time on another edition of What's Your YL Story. Take care. Have a good one, guys. Bye.
Have a good one.